flower friends, what do you think about this? Is this not like fall in a bucket? This, my friends, is Helenium. We treat it as a cool flower here on our farm. So what is a cool flower? Maybe you don't even know. Cool Flowers is the name of a book I wrote about cool season hardy annuals. And they are about a lot of plants that many of us can fall plant and then very early spring plant. Helenium, which can actually be a perennial in some areas, but it's most frequently a very short-lived perennial. And that makes us treat it as a cool flower, meaning that we fall plant it and it is blooming right now. And y'all, can you imagine having this to fill up your fall bouquets with? It is just this great mix of fallish colors. The bucket's slipping, y'all. But look at this stuff. I just absolutely love it. It's just one of my favorites. And so Helenium is just one of many. I mean, there's like 50 cool flowers that we grow. And so, friends, we are in that transitioning of the season. We have so many flowers around here. All the warm season flowers are just pulling in. They're just coming in armloads full. And that is just going to keep right on happening right up until first frost for us. And so this is Ask a Flower Farmer. I'm a flower farmer today. My name is Lisa Mason Ziegler, if we have never met. And I'm the owner, founder of the Gardener's Workshop, which is a website that is packed full of information and stuff if you need it. We have all kinds of free resources. You can connect with our podcast, my blogs, there's videos. We have a fully stocked online garden shop that sells all the things that you hear me mention from time to time, as well as online courses. And so I also host y'all a live gardening show, and that happens on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. And tonight, I'll be demonstrating, starting some cool flowers, talking about cool flowers, the whole concept, and invite you to join me. You can just pick up my app. It's free. It's inside your app store. Search Gardener's Workshop, download the shop app, and join me at 8 p.m. It's really a lot of fun. I do a Q&A at the end, and it'll really be a lot of fun. So friends, the way that this Ask a Flower Farmer works is if you're on Instagram, in the bubble down at the bottom of your screen that has the question mark in it, that's where you should put your questions, because they'll just scroll away and I won't be able to see them otherwise on Instagram. So load up your questions, whether it's about cool flowers, seed starting, flower farming, growing a cut flower garden, harvesting and conditioning, whatever your issue is. Post it in the bubble with question mark on Instagram. If you're on TikTok, put a question mark or put my name at the head of the comments and then type your question, and I will go back and find those for you. So I'll just fill you in a little bit of here on the farm while we are gathering up all of the comment or the questions. So if y'all haven't heard yet, my private membership, the Flower Farmer Club membership, is still open until tomorrow night at midnight. And y'all, I just got off the horn with my members. We do the Sowing Circle. That's one of the activities that we have inside the club, where I sow whatever I'm supposed to be sowing that week. But typically this time of the year, I'm doing sunflowers every single week. And that's one of the big things that we talk about during the Sowing Circle, is about how impactful sunflowers can be and how having them every week and growing them the perfect size as a cut flower. That's just one of many. And then we have master classes and a private podcast, and y'all, a private platform community, which is really one of the best parts, because that means that you don't have to wade through a bunch of ads. You don't it's a safe place to ask questions. And I'm in there, as well as other team members, as well as there's people at all levels. So it's for dreaming, aspiring, and beginner, up to 5-year or so flower farmers. And we just have a great time in there. Very supportive, and would love to have you join. And you can learn more about it over at thegardenersworkshop.com. And so friends, if you are watching me and you're liking what you see, please share this live broadcast right now to let other people know that we're actually over here live. So the question that I'm getting a lot right now is, am I starting Cool Flowers yet? And again, Cool Flowers is the name of the book that I wrote about the Cool Season Hardy Annual family and how we can each figure out when are we supposed to start them based on your first and last frost dates and your winter lowest temperature, right? So people are always asking, they're wondering, when am I starting? No, we have not started seeds or planting anything for next year's blooms for the classic Cool Flowers, which are the Cool Season Hardy Annuals. And who are some of these flowers? I mean, friends, this is the group of flowers that most of us want to grow the most, but we struggle with the most. We're talking sweet peas, bells of Ireland, snapdragons, just to name a few. Lisianthus is a cool flower. And so it's really an important time of the year. You know, spring, if you're a flower farmer, spring is the biggest sales season of the year. You can sell everything you grow if it's decent quality. And so you want to have the most you can. And to have it early, typically you have to plant it following the cool flower concept, which is fall if it's winter hardy for you, or very early spring. And would love to help you. Check it out tonight on the Inside the Phone app. So let me see, I've got a couple questions here. Jane asks, is Parvula gum a slow grower in the garden? Can it take a second year before it's big enough to cut? So Parvula gum is a eucalyptus, and thank you so much for Jane for asking this question, because eucalyptus is not the easiest crop I've ever grown. It's all about timing when you get it in the ground. So all eucalyptuses can be a little bit slow growers, but there is great benefit. So Jane, I don't know what zone, winter hardiness zone you're in. I'm in zone winter hardiness zone 8, just went from 7B to 8A when they rezoned. And we have very successfully wintered it over outdoors with protection. So let's just talk about eucalyptus for just a moment. So eucalyptus, I mean, it's from Australia, right? Grows great in California where they don't get frost, and down in Australia. And so for me, because I'm a field grower, I don't have any hoop or greenhouses. So our goal to get the most eucalyptus in one season, let's just say you're in zone 6. If you're in zone 6 or 7 or 5, you know, you're not going to overwinter eucalyptus outside in a garden, even with protection. You really have to typically have a hoop house, and then even within the hoop house, you're adding extra protection on those plants. So our game plan is that we seed start it. That's the first seed I start every January. January, like 3rd. First day back to work, that's the first thing we do is start eucalyptus. And so it's a slow grower. All of them are slow growers. And so that's why I started the 1st of January. And it takes 12 to 16 weeks to get a plant about that big, usually. So, and that kind of continues out in the garden. But the things that I do out in the garden to help it is, again, it's a heat lover. So we don't push the envelope. We typically plant it right at about our last expected spring frost. And when we plant it, I am usually hooping and row covering it just to block the wind, to really heat it up underneath there. You know, it's that whole greenhouse effect. And they appreciate irrigation throughout the season. And I will tell you that this particular year, Parvula gum, by the way, is one of my favorites. Is actually my favorite useful-wise eucalyptus. It has a smaller leaf. It's deep green. It's not gray like eucalyptus usually is. It's really deep green. It always reminds me of Christmas wintergreen. You know what I mean? That deep Christmas tree color. And it's my favorite because it's got a little leaf. It makes it more usable in bouquets. And we loved using it for Philip. Parvula gum has always been one of my strongest growers, right? This year, my Polyanthemus, which has got the big dangly leaves, which it's like it's opposite. Parvula gum is behaving like Pollyann this year, and Pollyann is this tall. Never before have I had that. And I totally think it's conditions and their timing, and then of course Silver Dollar just grows no matter what you do. So if you are in, I don't know if you're still in here, Jane, if you tell me what winter hardiness zone you're in, definitely worth an effort to overwinter it. So what Dave Dowling taught me to do out in the field is at the end of, so we don't even start cutting eucalyptus typically until September. I kind of save it to be the fall crop, right? We cut it back to about 12 to 18 inches tall. You know, it'll have a few side shoots on it. Cut the central wooden stalk back, and then I pile leaves really deep, like you don't even see the plant much anymore. And then we hoop it and double row cover it, and we just leave it that way for the winter. And we did that, I guess it was the year before the Cut Flower Handbook came out, because I needed a lot for that, right? Oh my gosh, y'all. We had eucalyptus that was taller than I can reach the next year, multiple branches. So it's definitely worth your effort to try to winter over eucalyptus. If you're in zone 7B, 8A, or south, so I'm in southeastern Virginia, I'm right on the brink of where that works, but it's worth a try. And so Jane, don't not grow it again just because it's a bad year, because in my years past, Parvula gum was the strongest grower, but this year it's just puny out there. And I just can't quite, I mean, it's like right in the row with the rest of them. So don't give up on them. But that's what I would try. Grace, any tips on cutting Monarda? I'm either too early or it's gone over. Which stage is best? So Gracie, any tips on cutting Monarda? So I only grow one Monarda, and that's Lambada. And so I can't speak to the others, but it's iffy. First off, we net it. I mean, it has to have support netting or it'll definitely go down. And we have found that you can really cut it on a long window because we start so early. So on the Monarda Lambada that we grow as cuts, instead of just having a single little spriggly head, it has multiple layers. And before I can see any of the pink flowers popping, which is the color that it is, that's when I start cutting it. You have to strip it hard, meaning there's no foliage beyond 6 inches from the tip, because that's all I'm looking to use is to have that green silvery kind of bloom to show. Cut it early in the morning, strip it hard, and that's when I like to use it. And then once it starts blooming a little bit, we're still using it, but it gets so many pink flowers, it definitely dominates the color, right? So Monarda Lambada, we like to cut, and actually I think in the Cut Flower Handbook, there should be, I think there's an image showing the stage that I like to harvest it in. That's the best, not the best, that was a highlight for me to include in the Cut Flower Handbook, is on every flower that we talk about, it's like we show you an old one of some of them, and some of them the stage to we show all of them the stage to harvest. So that is just really, really helpful. So I hope that helps you some. Let's see, Dottie. How do you get your celosia so nice and full? Mine tend to go to seed before getting a good sized plume or feather. And she's in zone 10B. So funny you should ask that. So I actually did some filming. I'm just trying to think what it was for on celosias. Celosia, first off, when you see my gorgeous celosia, you know, point in case, look at these gorgeous things. This is the Texas plumes. We had the seed. This is a seed that we have grown for us. It is this tall out in the garden, y'all. I have to look up to cut it. That's how tall it is. But there's several things that I would say. I did not come out of the gate being a great celosia grower. I am a great celosia grower now because I've been growing for 27 years. But what I will say to people is variety selection is the #1 consideration. How you start the seed. I think I became such a great celosia grower because I'm a soil blocker. Celosias resent being pot bound at all. If you're starting them in cell trays or in peat pots or anything like that, they just aren't happy. As soon as their roots hit the wall and they start to wind, they just don't perform at all. They'll just stall out and just never grow very much. And that's a really frequent flyer, or they sit in the tray too long. That can even happen with soil blocks, but not quite so much. And then the other thing is they love it hot and full sun. If you transplanted them, pushing the envelope in spring and it was cold soil, I mean, celosias will pout for the whole season if they just get ruffled feathers along the road, literally, kind of like Lisianthus. And so there's a lot of things that can cause that, low nutrition, low water, but I find most frequently it's the variety selection. I grow probably 30 different celosias. You'll find them all. They're all on my website. Some of the seed is pricier than others. Why? Because they've been selected and bred to have slow seed production, which makes them cost more. Not only does somebody have to do that for years to get the seed, but they don't produce a lot of seed. It's like, this is Act Green Celosia. It's a super expensive seed, but guess what? Look how clean these undersides are. Look at that. There's no seed action. One seed gives you one bloom, and you just charge accordingly when you're a flower farmer. When you're a professional, you just do what you have to do. But look at those sides. I mean, I just absolutely adore coxcomb. But that's why variety matters. So that's what my thought would be there, Dottie. I'm nervous to plant out my cool flowers that are winter low to -12. My lowest temperature is -7. Would you wait till very early spring or just plant out? First off, Gracie, I'm going to tell you, you are not the only person that is afraid to plant cool season hardy annuals outdoors in the garden in the fall with winter beating down your path, right? And so, that's what the cool flower concept is, y'all. For anybody that's not familiar, you have to figure out what plants are winter hardy in your winter lowest temperatures. And that's what the resources guide you on, right? So what Gracie is saying is that she goes down to -7 is her lowest winter temperature. And she said that there are some cool flowers that she's planning on fall planting that say that they're -12. They'll survive that. And that's very true. I don't know, that's probably maybe Rudbeckia. There's a couple of them. So, Gracie, this is what I say to you. First off, plant them in the fall. Follow the directions. You have to start them and have them ready to go. Get them planted at the proper time. Do the things you're supposed to do. And then for your security blanket, which I totally get that you need, plan on planting them again in very early spring. So you have a backup. But once you successfully fall plant for what survives in your winter hardiness zone, you will see the difference in the quality of the length of the stems, the number of stems, the disease and pest resistance is absolutely phenomenal because they're so well established, y'all. That's the whole bottom line. So I say, Gracie, I'll do it with you. Just plant them, okay? Just plant them. And so what if they die? Do you know how many? I have probably killed more cool flowers than most people will ever start in their life. That's fact. It's okay. We all do it. You have to kill plants to become a good flower farmer. Does that help? Because that's true. Let me just... So somebody is asking over here, what would you recommend for a robust indoor garden for year-round production? I don't know of any because it's more than just growing in a greenhouse. Year-round production is pretty deep and pretty involved. Now, Dave Dowling, one of our course instructors, he did produce year-round. He had heated greenhouses hoop houses, and he grew out in the field. And he sold at the big famous DuPont Farmers Market in Washington, D.C., which was 12 months out of the year. And he had quite a system going. There is no one thing. It is a variety of different products and flowers that you would sell. But if that's something that interests you, I'm trying to create an MVP for in-house food production. Can't help you on the food production thing. But you know, it's more than just warmth too. There's also light issues. So in addition to heat, you have to have light. So that is just that would be something I would definitely investigate, looking for someone that grows year-round food production. And there's not many of them, but you need to find one that's doing it and doing it really, really well. All right, so let's see over here. For a beginner wanting to have a flower cut garden, what are the easiest 3 flowers to start with? So Starlight. So depends on what season you're talking about. If you're talking about planting something in the fall to bloom in the spring, again, it depends on your winter hardiness zone. But a couple that just jump to mind that are winter hardy in many places is Larkspur, which is a pretty easy one. Bachelor Buttons is another one. And maybe even Love in a Mist, which is Nigella. Those are just 3 random, direct seeded, cool season hardy annuals that can be planted out in the garden in the fall. But I would just highly recommend, so I mentioned earlier that the Flower Farmer Club membership is open. I will tell you that the master class that just dropped, master classes get dropped in the club on the 15th of every month. The master class I just did was all about planning your autumn calendar. And in there, I recommend my 10 go-to starter cool season hardy annuals. So that may be something that can be helpful. And it just, you know, there is no cut and dry answer because we're talking about growing stuff. We all live in different areas, right? And we have really worked on creating systems through my books and my courses and resources that we offer to help guide you to figure out what are your conditions that you need to know. There's only 3 things you need to know, y'all. Your first and last frost dates and your winter hardiness. And you can rule the garden world. The Cut Flower Handbook really shows you how to figure out when you plant what. And then you just feel like you're so much more in control, right? Okay, speak of the book. Brittany says, I see in the Cut Flower Handbook you say you prefer to direct sow bachelor buttons 6 to 8 weeks before first frost with an ideal soil temperature of 65 to 70. I'm afraid my temperatures are cooler than that 6 to 8 weeks before first frost. Should I sow earlier? So Brittany, let me just tell you what my general guide is on all of that. So the soil temperature is definitely important. But another really important thing is to not plant too early when the air temperature is too warm. The 6 to 8 week guide before your first frost is like the most likely conditions that are conducive to that seed sprouting. So I would say to you, I wouldn't really worry about my soil temp. I have never been a soil temperature measurer. I know I can measure soil temperature, but we 100% go with air temperature in our planning and doing, and then that window of 6 to 8 weeks. I'm afraid, so this is what will happen if you plant too soon. Your seeds may not sprout as quickly, but what you are going to have to do is to cultivate and keep weed seeds. That there's weed seeds for all conditions out in our gardens, right? And you have to cultivate to hold those weed seedlings back from developing while you're waiting for your seeds to sprout. So that's why it's always this race of wanting to plant your seeds at the proper at the time that they're going to just hit the ground running, right? and get a really, really great start. So I think it's great that you're measuring your soil temperature, but if my soil temperature was even close to what that recommendation is, which is based on data, then I would plant them at that 6 to 8 weeks. But if you don't, you plant earlier, that'll work, but you just have to cultivate to hold the weeds back while you're waiting for those seeds to actually germinate. And I'll give you all a great example. So one of my cousins came to visit us unexpectedly this last Saturday. He's a big farmer. I mean, he has combines, I can't even say it. Those big things that gather the corn, right? Those big $1 million machines. So his wife is growing flowers. They live about an hour and a half away from us, and his daughter is actually growing flowers. And so they wanted to come and look around, and we were talking and stuff and everything. And, you know, my Steve, my husband, is just bragging like crazy on me, and he's asking him about his operation. I mean, he has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres, right? And so I have some cover crop growing out here. Buckwheat that we planted is beautiful. It's like this tall green cover. I mean, it's pretty dreamy looking. And so Steve was telling him about that. And he says, yeah, we plant cover crop too. And Steve said, well, how do you plant it? And he told him, and so I walked in. Steve says, you are never going to guess how they plant cover crop. I said, well, how's that? He said, they actually hire a drone company that comes and literally plants their cover crop, because when they used to have an airplane do it. That's how big his farm is, right? They drop the cover crop from the air. Now they use a drone that actually can be more accurate and not cut corners and do all that. But it was really interesting. He said, but it really depends on the weather. He said, if we don't time it so that we get the seed down right before it rains, you know, because there is no irrigating for them, right, on that scale, that by planting it, if the temperature's not right and the air temperature's not right, and if rain is not in the forecast, he said, we get terrible germination. So my hat is off to you to considering all that stuff. And so best of luck to you. Just be glad you don't have to hire a drone, right? That's what I was thinking the whole time he was talking. I'm thinking, how much does that cost, right? So friends, let's see what else, if we have any others here. We do not. Let's look over here. So, you know, I've been simulcasting on TikTok, and oh, you're welcome. I'm just looking for questions. On TikTok, they don't provide a place for you to put questions, so you have to kind of look back through, and I know I miss questions every single year. So friends, every week. It's been a long day, right? So friends, I hope that you're just knee-deep in flowers like we are. And remember that tonight I do the live gardening show inside our shop app at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And once you have the app, you can actually go back in and watch the replays if you can't attend live. Our biggest show of the week is on Fridays at 12 noon in the app, the shop app, and that's where the harvest, this was a harvest earlier this week. We have another harvest that went on today. That's over there. And then the big harvest happens tomorrow. Just I can't believe how many flowers are coming out of our garden right now. And so I'll be showing all of that on the Friday show. And I hope that you'll drop in and join us. It's a lot of fun. And so friends, remember the Flower Farmer Club, which it is such an opportunity. It is $19.95 a month to join, or an annual of $199, which basically gives you 2 months free. You can cancel for the month by month at any point in time. Master classes, the Bloomcast, the Flower Farmer Forum, the weekly sewing circle. But to me, the most important part is the private community board, where you can reach out to me to ask questions, but also all the support. And it's just a lot of positive stuff happening there, and would love to have you join us. You can find all that you need to know about it over at the Gardener's Workshop helenium.com is the top of every page, and you have until midnight tomorrow night, and the doors close, and they reopen maybe later in the year. I'm not sure if it's 2026, but would love to have you join us. All right, my friends, till we meet again. Ciao.